This morning, I would like to begin by showing you a TV ad that ran in Quebec around 2012-2013. But don't worry, nobody speaks, it's only music, so everybody should be able to understand. And well, one interesting fact, maybe you like movies, the person who directed this is Jean-Marc Vallée, who gave us the movie Crazy in 1995 and Dallas Buyers Club in 2013, in which Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto both won an Academy Award. So very interesting. So let's watch this. This ad was promoting the Shave Head Challenge that raised money for Le Camp, a foundation, an organization working to promote the recovery and the well-being of cancer-stricken children and to support their families. And as we were watching, the character depicted here, the young boy, but also his mother, his teacher, fellow classmates, we remember that some experiences or events in our lives have this power to draw people together. When someone we know, when someone we love is diagnosed with cancer, has a stroke, or is losing everything in a fire, for example, we tend to rally and to come together. Often people who barely knows each other and who are completely different set aside their differences of religion, culture, language, politics, and begins to work together. And usually through these painful journeys, bonds are formed that often last a lifetime. A sense of solidarity is built that goes way beyond logic, expectations, or common sense. The story of the book of Ruth is one of those examples. For most, their knowledge of this biblical book is limited to a passage from this morning, verses 16 and 17 to be more specific. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and there I will be buried. These beautiful words are often used in promises made during weddings. In fact, I use them at my own wedding. However, when Ruth said these words, she's far from being in the middle of a very romantic situation. No, for her, it was closer to be the worst of time, not the best of time. You see, today's story is nothing short than a tragedy. It begins with the famine in Judah due to a drought, as it was a common phenomenon in this part of the world. And as we can read in the book of Genesis, as it's the case for Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Elimelech and his family are forced to move from their home in order to survive. And this family is not that different from the countless families who are crossing borders these days because of natural disaster, wars, or poverty. Unfortunately, tragedy strikes our family not that long after they settled in the country of Moab. Elimelech died suddenly, leaving his wife Naomi and his 2 sons to make it on their own. Well, the 2 sons marries a local girl, Orpah and Ruth, and the family seems to adjust to what is their new normal. And then tragedy strikes again. Mahlon and Chilion also die. And these losses are totally devastating for the remaining women. All the hopes for survival collapse around these 3 widows. And we might be tempted to believe that it was way much worse back then for women, and especially for widows, living in a misogynistic society embedded in patriarchal institutions and traditions that rendered them voiceless and powerless. We might be tempted to believe that today women can be whatever they want. They can reach a high place of power and authority. We can believe that if Hillary Clinton is running for president, if Catherine Wynne is Ontario's premier, well, we must live in an egalitarian society. However, when we look around us, honestly, we are forced to admit that many women are struggling. 750,000 of Canadian families are led by single mothers, and those families are among the poorest in the country. 66% of those who are working at minimum wage here are women. Statistics Canada has revealed study after study that women becoming a widower see a significant drop in their income. The reality of these women are not that far, not that different from what Naomi, Orpah, Ruth were facing. Well, eventually, the news that the famine in Judah is over reaches our family, and Naomi decides to go back to Bethlehem, where she used to live. But let's make no mistake here, moving back would not improve her condition, but at least she would live and wait for death among her own people. And when Orpah and Ruth start to follow them, Naomi tried to discourage them. She tells them to go back to their family because she has nothing to offer them except poverty and bitterness. Maybe, just maybe, if the young women remained with their parent, they would be able to marry again and find some sort of security in the house of their new husband. So her eyes full of tears, Orpah left Naomi because it was the most reasonable and rational thing to do in order to survive. Orpah agrees to leave her mother-in-law, but Rachel does not want to hear about it. Her decision is made. She will follow Naomi no matter what. All they went through together. After all of this, there's no way she will accept to be separated for her. The bond that unites them is now unbreakable. And in words that sounds like other covenant in the Bible, she commit to stay at Naomi's side no matter what will happen. And we should not lose sight of the difficulty of such a commitment. For Ruth, this decision means to live among an unknown people. She will enter a foreign land where everything will be different, from food and language to religious and social practices. Each time she will open her mouth, her accent will betray her. It will indicate to everyone that she is not from around here. She is not really one of us. No, she will be an alien, a stranger, an outsider, a potential security threat. Ruth will be treated like the women we criticize today because they do not want to dress like we dress. They do not want to eat like we eat. They do not want to adopt our culture. She will be treated like we treat the immigrant and the political refugees these days, which is not always glorious. She will be considered a problem that needs to be fixed, a challenge that needs to be addressed. But nevertheless, Ruth makes the choice to walk that path, even if it defies logic, expectations, or common sense. Ruth's decision speaks of a sense of a solidarity and a sense of commitment that we are all called to emulate in our lives. If most of us never had to face a time of violence, famine, or forced delocalization, all of us are confronted to very difficult choices at one point or another in our lives. And at those specific moments, we always have a choice. We can decide to follow conventional wisdom and accepted behaviors. We can decide to put ourselves first. We can decide to save our skin. We can decide to protect our assets. When we see other human beings struggling, suffering, we can claim that we will help them when they will start to organize themselves. We can say that we will accept only those who makes us comfortable. And if they're not happy, well, they can go back into their country. We can do this, like many do in our society. Or we can decide to walk a more difficult path. We can choose kindness and compassion before duty and sense of security. We can make some sacrifices to be in solidarity with our fellow human beings, with our sisters and our brothers. We can willingly establish new bounds with people who are considered alien, stranger, outcast by the rest of our society. We can create a sense of solidarity that transcends our differences of religious, culture, language, politics. Despite the struggle of our lives, we can decide to cling to one another. The biblical book of Ruth offers us an ancient and yet very powerful story about an unlikely partnership between two women of different age, ethnicity, and religions who faced an uncertain future and still decide to walk together despite all the odds against them. The struggle they shared together, the struggle they went through, moved them to journey together beyond what is considered comfortable, reasonable, a safer place. The mutual love they have for one another. Help them to see new unexpected possibilities in front of them. The stories of these two widows is an inspiration for all of us who desire to create a world of compassion, a world of mercy, a world of solidarity that unites every human being. Amen.